Welcome back to another episode of Designing the Best You. Now, we're going back to the basics of a job search, but we're putting a twist on it for this crazy job market in 2024, okay? We know the job search process anytime, any year is just grueling, right? I mean, now we have like AI taking over, all the stuff that I won't go into on this episode, okay? It feels like this never-ending battle. It's filled with frustration, self-doubt, all the things. And here's the thing though, if you didn't notice, it's cyclical, okay? Every election year, the market is quote unquote tough. Let's all go back to 2020. I mean, we had a double whammy there and we still made it through, right? Many of us got jobs, changed careers, all the things, okay? I know it's tough. I know it's easy to question your worth. And, whenever all these rejections just keep piling up and piling up and piling up, and you're like, I'm not good enough. Someone doesn't want me. That's a trigger there back from childhood. So think about that. But we're all worthy. Okay. We're all deserving of a role, right? We are. I promise you that. Okay. God, our Father, has promised us that. But I've been where you are. I felt lost, overwhelmed, unsure of just those next steps. But I've also learned that persistence, confidence, strategic networking, taking care of your own mental, your own emotional and physical health can make all the difference. It's not the only thing. It's one of the 4 steps that I walk through in my coaching programs. The last one is the strategic aspect of it, guys, okay? We all can do it. You guys are so incredibly intelligent. I know that. I work with you guys all the time, have conversations with you. You're incredibly intelligent. I don't want you to forget that. And you are a gift to this world. But there's things we all have to tweak and we all have to work on, right? So, I want you to understand your value. I want you to understand that how to be the person you were designed to be, not do the person you were designed to do. Be the person you're designed to be, okay? So it's time to start turning some things up here, all right? We're not about fitting in like everyone else here. Not into those job descriptions. They literally create this job description, right? And say, well, do you fit this? And then we do whatever we can to like wiggle our way like, well, yeah, I mean, I do have like, I think I have like 5 years of sales experience. I mean, 2 years like working a lot equals the 5 years, but what does 5 years really mean? And I don't really have a degree in this, but we try to push ourselves into these boxes that they create, okay? And that's because we don't know who we are. And they don't know who they really want, to be honest with you. And we all claim we have this good attitude. We all claim all this stuff, and I'm not saying we don't, but we claim it because we just want a job because we lost our job. Or we want to level up, or we're in a toxic company. And do you ever think maybe you might be a part of the toxic culture? Or, hey, we're in a sinful world. And we all are toxic in some manner, and you put a bunch of toxic people together, and what happens? Or we all do have good inside of us, and we're all just trying our best with what we have and what we've been given. Give people a little grace. Anyways, we'll move on. But today I'm going to assist you, okay? I'm going to walk you through on how to get a job this year in 2024, okay? So it's not a guarantee, okay? Every situation is going to be different, but here's some steps that have worked with every client that I've worked with since I started my company 2016. Okay. So it can be done. All right. So anyways, you're like, Vanessa, we're in a recession. I've been searching for 6 months plus. Some of y'all have heard of like a year and a half. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are your criteria? Anyways, but you're like, no way I'm going to get anything soon. Then we got the holidays coming up. We got the election. We got blah, 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 all this stuff. And oh my gosh, all the excuses. Yes, excuses. Okay. So I'm here to tell you, stop doing what everyone else is doing. Like, stop. And how do I know? Because guys, I've studied job hunters. I've studied recruiters. I've studied the process for years. And then even before I started studying it, I was involved in it, okay? And I was back before we had the internet too. So there was ways to do things without the internet, okay? So, what do you do when you lose your job? Or when you want to get out of that toxic work environment? What do you guys do? Like, think about that. Here's what we do. We go to LinkedIn, we go to Google, we go to Indeed, we go to Monster, wherever, any of those job search sites, we type in the title that we want or that we've had or something similar and dream and cross our fingers something's going to pop up, try to fit ourselves in that box, and then we're like, okay, I can do this, right? Fill out the job application, hit the apply button, attach your resume. You've had it updated by someone maybe like in our company. You update it, you attach a cool cover letter explaining some things, maybe some credentials, boom, send it off. Then what happens? Off it goes, right? Then you head over to LinkedIn and you check out all the people at that company, follow them, perhaps check out the hiring manager and their profile. Not so desperately, but desperately message them, hoping they're going to respond back. Maybe you kind of do the search where you try to find their email address, maybe all the things, and you all do it, okay? And then you get a ding and you're like, oh, my email, right? You see it and you see the subject line. It has to do with your application, and it says, application has been submitted. And you're like, duh, I know I hit submit button and it said it was submitted on the screen. Or maybe you get an email saying, thank you for your application. It is now under review. And that's it. And then you're like, well, what's the process? What is the process? Okay. Maybe you're working with the recruiter. Okay. And that recruiter is like, hey, give me a week or two. Let me just do some things. And they never really explain the process. And here's the thing, you don't ask. So both y'all, or you ask and they're like, well, we have to wait, or if it's confidential, or I have a company, the recruiter's like, I have a company, but I can't disclose their name, right? Why are we hiding things, guys? Why? Why can't we just tell people this is the exact process, hold them accountable, and say, yo, you said after 2 weeks, I was to reach out to you, I reached out to you, and I still don't hear from you, you're ghosting me, or the candidate's like, I'm not responding to them, they've ghosted me, and you guys play the game, okay? You play the freaking game like kids. We play the game, okay? Or perhaps, it's just torture. It's just absolute torture, right? You're leaving your career. I want you to hear this. You are leaving your career in the hands of other people who you don't know. And you don't know the process. Because here's the thing, okay? The process is different at every single company. There are so many different application systems out there these days. They've got AI, they've got all these different filters to flood things out so people don't have to be involved into the last moment, okay? Which I can understand. I was hiring and yeah, you get all these random things and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even do my real job. I get that, okay? But maybe, and there's all these different layers too on top of it, okay? So maybe the position you applied for is maybe a backup position. How are you gonna know that, right? You don't know that because someone maybe in the company is on a performance improvement plan, a PIP, okay? And they can't have that position empty for so long, so they just need to hire someone quick, but then they don't because maybe that person did improve, but they don't let you know, and all the things, right? I could go on, and I will in next coming episodes, but you get the point for now, right? So my question is to you, again, why are you doing what everyone else is doing? Why are you falling into the trap of the job search process, which, by the way, if I pulled 100 of you, okay, and asked what the job search process actually was, I'd get 100 different answers. And they might be similar in some manner, but I'd get 100 different answers, okay? So what if there was a way to secure the job that you had in today's market, to secure a job, an amazing job, okay? Would you actually put the time and effort into it? Or would you do the easy way? Would you do the easy way? Let's give a lifetime example, like a life example here, okay? You're a parent. You do the hard work to teach your kids to be creative and problem solvers, right? You're not going to do everything for them because that would be exhausting. It's exhausting enough being a parent, right? You take the time, you put in the effort when they're little to say, here's how you solve this problem, right? This is exactly how you solve the problem. Or here, you start asking questions like, hey, how do you think you're going to solve this problem? And you start going deeper. The 5 whys, anyone heard about that? Like, why is this? Why, right? We ask them questions. Then as they get older, what happens? We teach them how to be observant, right? Aware, watch how things are done before diving in. I have a quick little story on that. I was like 22, 23 at my second, we'll call it real job out of college that had to do with my degree. And I was in charge of a manufacturing line. It had 3 parts of that manufacturing line and different groups in those parts. And it was a union shop, my first time in a union shop. The first company I was at, I kind of free reign to do whatever I wanted. Union shops, totally different. I walked in there and I'm like, okay, I learned a little bit about the process. I'm like, there are so many things that need to be fixed, that can improve, blah, blah, blah. I talked to the people, okay, I get to know them. That was kind of my thing. And then I'm like, boom, it's go time. It's like 6 weeks in, I'm like, it's go time. My boss said I have to improve this. Boom, go. I'm sitting in my cubicle one day updating some documents and looking at process flows and like crossing things out and blah, blah, blah. And I got this lady, I'm not going to name her name because she might be listening to this, but she's retired now. And she walked into my cubicle. She sat down, arms crossed. At that time, she was like 60 years old, arms crossed. Now, she was one of 17, and she was freaking smack dab in the middle. And she's like, I don't take anything from anyone. And she's sitting there. I'm like, can I help you? And she's like, you think it's okay to come? And she started, actually before that, she started messing around with my desk. And she's like, you think it's okay to come in and start messing with our stuff? I don't care if it improves it or not. You sit down and you learn about us, how long we've been here, why the processes are the way they are, why we do things, the whole shebang. She goes, do you know that sometimes we don't change things because we can't get things approved? We don't have the money, whatever it is. She goes, sometimes we have union standards. She just started making this list. And she goes, one thing I'm going to tell you, you want anything to change in here. First of all, I'm your lady. So she was really focused there. I'm your lady, but you have to learn and you have to be creative and use us to help you. And I was like, okay, all right. Sounds good, right? Sounds good. And we're so quick to think we know the process. That's my point. We're so quick to think we know what needs to change. Yet we keep doing the same thing everyone else is doing by applying to these jobs. What are you doing to change the process? What are you personally doing, right? So many of us just are given that job and we dive in, right? Or our job is to find a job and we just dive in. We're just like, we know we have to find a job. That is the goal. We have to find a job, and you do whatever it takes, hours and hours, hundreds of applications, hundreds of calls, whatever, emails, rejections, depression, insomnia. And then we wonder why we feel like pieces of crap, right? And then, we finally get a job. Maybe we just take the job because we have to pay bills, which there's nothing wrong with that. Or we take it because we're like, I guess I fit into that role. No one else has reached out to me, so it is what it is, right? And I'm not saying we don't have to sometimes do that. But what I'm saying is, why do you keep doing that to yourself? Like, why? Our mental, emotional, physical health declines in all of it. Our moods are no bueno, right? It stinks. So how do you land a job in 2024 then? Or let's say in any other year, y'all, okay? But let's talk about 2024 first, because that's what we're in. First, why is it so hard to find a job? Okay, if you look at how things work in the economy, just any economy, I don't care how it works in the United States here, and we have 2020 and kind of rolled over into 2021, right? The impacts on the crops, the impacts on just everything, right? Healthcare, manufacturing, like you name it, families, all the stuff. Just think about that. Just the overall, I don't want you to dive in super deep, okay? The economic fluctuations, uncertainties, like the aftermath of that global pandemic. If you can't go grow crops because all this different stuff, what do you think years to come, when it does take years to start from scratch to regrow crops, what's going to happen? Okay? You've got all these geopolitical tensions, which I'm not even going to go into, okay? All that has affected the job availability this year. Companies are incredibly cautious, and I would be too if I was running a large organization in a physical building, okay? And even if I was doing virtual too, of a large organization with many employees, I would be, and I have, even prior to 2020, all this stuff, when I was in corporate, I sit there and we would analyze. When we did RIFs, we did layoffs, we had to sit there and say, where can we cut? We don't want to cut people because people are incredible assets, right? What do we want to cut? How can we do this? I even took personal pay cuts just so we could keep people that were really good and valuable assets on our staff, okay? You have to sit there and say, like, should we expand our workforce? Should we invest in that and just take a risk on people and hope for the best? But because of that, what's happening is there's less openings, job openings out there, okay? And they're more stringent hiring processes. Basically, y'all, it's a lot of fear. And if you want to know more about fear in the job search process and all that type of stuff, I have a handful of episodes I did a month or two ago on that. Go back and check, okay? Lots of stuff revolves around fear, okay? But let's go back to 2020 for a second. Let's compare the 2 years. 2020, we had an election year, right? We had COVID, okay? The unemployment rates increased from 4.3% that July to 14.9% that following April. So almost a year, 9 months later. That's an all-time high. 2024, the unemployment rate was 4.2% in August, which is higher, but not much, than August in 2023, which was 3.8%. Come on, y'all. Think about that, okay? We do expect a slowing of job growth until late 2025, y'all, okay? But that is in response, and I need you to understand this, okay? These are things out of your control, but in your control, okay? We expect a slowing of job growth until late 2025 in response to the falling GDP, right? Gross domestic product growth, right? Okay, that's from all the crop issues, that's from supply chain. And in order to, guys, think about this. Let's go back to basic economics, okay? In order for GDP to increase, we have to do a bunch of things. But here's the main things that, in my opinion, okay? You have to increase education. And to me, that means improving our creativity and our problem-solving skills. Sometimes include, technology certifications, whatever it may be. And we have the internet to do that in so many ways, right? Strengthen institutions, because what do institutions do, okay? Many institutions are out there to provide security, stability, accountability, efficiency, increase consumer spending, which also includes their confidence, and get businesses to invest in what matters, which means learning how to decrease excess costs, right? So all those things are really out of our individual hands, right? Then what can we do to become employed again? You're like, Vanessa, this stinks. This episode is not good. Listen, okay? You have skills, gifts, expertise that have been given to you by God, okay? So here's what I recommend, is to take a step back and look at who you want to be in this process. Do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to sit on the sidelines? Do you want to be collaborative, or do you want to work independently? Do you want to be authentic? The list can go on and on, but who do you want to be? Then, this can be a little bit of a tough part you guys don't like to dive into, okay? What challenges have you had in past roles that first held you back, right? Basically stunted anything. You were frozen, this stinks, whatever it was. And then what challenges fueled you, right? Those are the easy ones. You're like, oh yeah, I love being given this type of task. I love working independently, or I love working with teams, and this one fueled me, okay? Here's the thing, the ones that have challenged you, okay? Those are the ones I want you to focus on, because when you take the time to dive in, the ones that held you back, right? Dive in, you're gonna find that there's ones that you lost sleep over, the ones that made you anxious or nervous or overwhelmed you, caused you to continue in your perfectionism journey, okay? Perhaps maybe people pleased. All of those are responses to childhood trauma, which we've talked about those in past episodes as well. Now, you're not going to be able to take years off and take a break and resolve all that trauma and get all the tools under your belt quickly. But starting that process is imperative to your job search, especially in 2024, okay? But what is important is that now you need to understand why you people please, why you seek perfection, why you get overwhelmed and don't practice boundaries, etc. Okay? Because then going into your next role, guess what? You're going to learn how to be an asset to a company that doesn't get laid off no matter what. Okay? That's the cool part. And speaking of becoming an asset, do you really want to learn how to land a job now in 2024? Okay, like I said, who do you want to be? Okay? What has challenged you in the past and why? Then only after those two things are done, I'm telling you, you got to do those two things first. Only after those two things, okay? Find a company you want to work for. One, just start with one, okay? I don't care if they have a posting up or not, study them, their trends, their people, their finances, if they're public, check out their customer service and ratings. What products or services do they sell? What do they invest in? Seriously, go through their freaking website and study it, okay? Study them like crazy. Then decide why you would or wouldn't work for them. Then here's the big kicker, okay? Remember how I asked you how and what you teach your kids, okay? The problem solving and creativity, or let's call it resourcefulness, are assets you can't take away from a person. Use those skills. Use it. Figure out how to improve those skills for yourself. And then, here's the kicker. Figure out how to use those skills to solve a company's problem or problems. What problems do they have? How can you solve those problems? How? You know you can. If you want to work for the company so bad, figure out the problem and figure out how you're going to solve it, because then right away you can hit the ground pretty much running and understanding what you need to do, how you need to be, because you already set that up, right? And save a company. Because then, think about this, when you can improve the efficiency at a company, the processes, you can reduce costs, you raise up the GDP for that company, right? And you become an incredibly valuable asset anywhere you go. Boom, right? So I hope that was good for you. If you're curious for more sneaky ways like this, that's not fitting you in a box and doing what everyone else is doing, uncovering these job postings, which are not really job postings because most of these companies don't know what they want, but you will understand what they need and want, right? I want you to make sure you subscribe to my podcast channel, you get on the email list, you add me as a connection on LinkedIn because that's where I hang out most of the time, and you're going to get all kinds of tidbits because I post all the time on there, all this kind of stuff, okay? So please, all those links are in the show notes. And here's the thing, guys, I'm here to strengthen you. I'm here to get you on the path, to set you on the path to being, not doing, being all you were created to be, okay? All you were designed to be, mentally, emotionally, physically, and strategically, okay? So until next time, keep on designing the best you.